All right, we are finding the slope of each line because of all of these 6 lines, A, B, C, D, E, and F, what we're trying to do is figure out which 2 are parallel, meaning parallel lines have the same slope, which 2 are perpendicular, meaning opposite reciprocals. So let's take a look at what we know so far. Let's take a look at each line. Well, for line 1, and I'm going to write m equals for the ones that we already know. For line 1, m, the slope, is right there, 3. The slope is 3. We can just write it. Okay? And line B, well, interesting. Let's take a look at what line B is. Line B, I'm just going to sketch a coordinate grid here. Line B, x equals 1. We have a line that's going to go through the x-axis at -1. Going through the x-axis at -1, like that. We have a perfectly vertical line. That has a slope of, well, we call it undefined, perfectly vertical slope. If we had another line that had a perfectly vertical slope, undefined slope, they'd be parallel. If we had a slope of 0, they would be perpendicular. So I'm going to get rid of that, but we can then say line B has slope is undefined. Let's continue. Line C, we can see the slope written right there in point slope form. That has a slope of 1/2. And line Y, let's take a look at Y. I'm going to do this sketch again. We have a line that is going to cross the y-axis at 3. It's one of these special lines. It's either perfectly horizontal or perfectly vertical. Well, since it's crossing the y-axis like that at 3, it must be horizontal, meaning a slope of 0. So line D has a slope of 0. Line E, we can see that, again, we can see that slope right there. It's in point slope form, -2. And line F, we're going to have to rewrite this one. We're going to have to rewrite line F. And how are we going to do it? We're going to, let me zoom in on it. We're going to subtract 9x, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. We're going to subtract 9x from both sides. What I'm going to do is I'm going to write this into slope-intercept form. -3y equals -9x plus 5. And then I got to divide both sides by -3. -3y divided by -3, because what that'll do is it'll just give us y equals, and that's what we need in order to be talking about slope-intercept form. Plus, remember that this is 5 divided by -9, and what do we get as a result? We get y equals -9 divided by -3 is 3x, and plus 5 over -9 is the same as -5/9. So that's the equation for that. Okay, I'm going to zoom back out. Hold on a second. Okay, let's see if I'm doing this right. Zoom, oops. Nope. Okay, still learning this, sorry. Zoom back out, and we find for this one, for line F, that we've got a slope of 3 right there. Okay, slope equals 3. And then the question is, which lines are parallel, which lines are perpendicular? So we can say parallel line, which 2 have the same slope? Line A and line F. Perpendicular, which 2 have opposite reciprocal slopes? Well, Line C has 1/2 and line E has -2. Those are opposite reciprocals, so we say line C and line E, negative reciprocals. That's our answer. We had to first identify what all of the slopes were, and for some of the equations we needed to rewrite them, or otherwise know what it means when you have a special case like this with only one of the variables. But just to know, oh, actually, it says define each pair, and I missed that. So let me back up here a second. I'm going to clear these all out because we actually have only one set of parallel lines. Oops. But we actually have two sets of perpendicular lines. Parallel lines will have the exact same slope, and there's only one pair that has the exact same slope. But what I need to do for, sorry, I'm trying to forward this again. I don't mean to be slow and annoying. But I'm going to slide this whole thing up. Whoops. Let me shrink it down so that I can fit in also, my mistake because I forgot to write, we have these two also undefined and 0 as being perpendicular. So we need to identify that as a pair of perpendicular lines as well. So we can say line B and line D. Anytime you have one that is undefined and one that is 0, another way of seeing it is one that has an equation just in y and another one that has just an equation in x. They're going to be perpendicular. Again, two equations just in y would be parallel, and two equations just in x would be also parallel. So that's it. That's our answer.